Angel Reese.
And I mean, say what you want. This is the pettiest shit I've ever seen. This is the pettiest shit I've ever seen.
One shirt turned a tribute night into a storm. In a sea of matching tees honoring a legend, one player stood out, and the cameras locked in. Was it petty, principled, or a calculated brand move that everyone would be talking about by morning? What looked like a split-second choice had roots that started months earlier, when a simple ranking clip poured fuel on fan debates. Tonight's moment wasn't an accident, but that wasn't the whole story, and what came before explains why this tiny decision swallowed the entire ceremony.
So lads, Angel Reese did what everybody expected Angel Reese to do.
Honestly, you look at her body, you look at her ability to get up and down the floor, and I don't think it's just on the offensive end, I think it's on the defensive end as well.
She was listed like 10 players, and she put her as the same tier as Brink, and then said she has a potential to be an S tier player. Like, she literally said.
This night was supposed to be simple, a Legends jersey rising to the rafters, a crowd on its feet, cameras everywhere, waiting for a clean story about respect and legacy. Candace Parker is the blueprint for winning. Multiple rings, MVPs, a face of the league for a generation. The arena buzzed with nostalgia and pride. Teammates slipped on tribute shirts to match the moment. Everything looked locked in and tidy. But one small decision would cut through all that tradition and hijack the spotlight. And the moment that lit up the timeline was still to come. All eyes drifted from the rafters to the bench in a heartbeat. Every Sky player wore the tribute tee. One didn't. Angel Reese sat in her own gear, and the contrast punched through the frame. Photos hit the feed in minutes. Comment sections flooded. Some called it disrespect. Others called it confidence. The clip ricocheted across accounts, each one adding a sharper caption than the last. What should have been a clean celebration turned into a referendum on one player's choice. And this wasn't random at all, because the spark that fed this fire was lit long before tonight. It did not start on ceremony night. It started in a studio clip that looked harmless. Candace broke the league into tiers, buckets, names, debates. Reese and other young bigs landed below the top shelf. That alone was enough to stir people who live for rankings. Then came the follow-up. Candace praised Reese for size, motor, and ceiling. She said the tools were real and the leap was coming. Nuance lives fine on air. It dies on the timeline. Edits chopped the context. Captions hardened the take. Suddenly, the story read like a veteran holding a rookie back. A measured breakdown turned into a scorecard on pride. Reese saw the buzz and did not hide from it. She leaned into the noise and kept hooping. And every new clip became a Rorschach test. Was it motivation or a shot across the bow? Depends who you asked. By the time Jersey night arrived, that quiet spark had a trail. One choice at the bench only needed a nudge to catch flame. And the internet was ready to. The feeds did what they always do. Clips lost context. Captions dialed the volume to 11. A clean breakdown turned into a scoreboard for pride. Quote tweets split into camps. One side saw a rookie getting checked. The other saw a star in the making, who refused to play along. Aggregator pages churned the loop for hours. Old interviews resurfaced to fit a fresh story. Micro-creators added edits that made the gap look bigger. Every swipe baked in a new angle. Reese did not duck the noise. She posted. She smiled in tunnels and kept her energy the same. Silence became its own statement. To fans already invested, that read like intent. By the time the ceremony started, people were not watching a tribute anymore. They were waiting to see what she would do next. But the timeline is not the scoreboard, and what happened on the floor pushed the conversation in a different tip-off, sliced through the noise. For a while, it was just hoop and hardwood. Reese owned the glass, box-outs, put-backs, second chances that kept the Sky alive. She finished with 10 points and 17 rebounds. Another double on a night when the lights were already blinding. It should have been a headline. It became a footnote. The Sky did not close. The scoreboard turned cold. The moment on the bench swallowed the night on the floor. Clips of rebounds traveled slower than a single still frame from pregame. The broadcast mentioned the milestone. The timeline barely blinked. Numbers told one story. Optics told another. Fans were not asking about footwork or angles. They were asking about intent. Production can win games. It does not always win narratives. And that is where the next question hits. Was this a careless slight, or a calculated signal that she would not play by the script? 2 frames, 1 choice, 2 readings. To some, skipping the tribute tee looked like a slight at a franchise icon. Tradition asks for uniformity. Nights like this call for quiet. Anything else scans as ego. To others, it was a line in the sand. a competitor protecting her own image in a league that finally rewards personality. Fans do not just follow wins, they follow edge. They follow players who refuse to blend into the backdrop. Both readings can be true at once. Respect for history does not cancel ambition, and branding does not always mean disrespect. The question is not what the intent was. The question is how the room received it. Teammates see everything. Coaches sense ripple effects. A small wardrobe call can land like a message inside a locker room. It can also fade by the next practice if the work rate never dips. Winning has a way of turning noise into narrative fuel. The market will answer too. Clips drive views. Views drive value. Polarizing moments raise ceilings and lower margins for error at the same time. If you choose the spotlight, you invite the microscope. So was it petty or power? It depends on the angle you choose. The next 48 hours would push that angle hard, as voices across the league weighed in and headlines settled on a label. And the reaction that followed would decide which story the next day sounded louder than the night. Headlines framed it as a choice that split the room. Panels argued intent. Clips looped with new captions that pushed the same two readings. Some voices praised the confidence. Others demanded a standard for ceremony nights. Teammates answered carefully. Coaches stuck to basketball. Parker set the tone by keeping it calm and saying there was no personal beef. The story turned from a moment to a mirror for how the league handles personality and tradition. Numbers from the game got buried under opinions. Every post felt like a vote. And that set the stage for the only question that matters now. What happens the next time the lights hit and the moment calls for it? Narratives have short lives unless you feed them. Reese can starve this one with steady games and quiet work. Or she can shape it on her terms. A pregame nod. A postgame line that gives grace and keeps edge. Small choices set tone. If she leans into the villain arc, the clicks will come fast and the margin for error shrinks. If she leans into growth, the room may soften and the story turns into fuel. Coaches will judge the habits. Teammates will judge the vibe. Fans will judge the moments that happen when the camera is not supposed to be watching. Brands are watching too. Attention raises ceilings, but partners prefer control. A clear message can protect both. Show that the chip is focus, not spite. Show that the work is bigger than the noise. That balance wins longer than any viral clip. And none of this matters if the box score dips. Production is the shield. Wins are the answer. Parker's legacy will stand either way. That is the anchor in this whole debate. Reese's path is still being written, and this flashpoint will only be a chapter if she keeps stacking proof. The next marquee matchup will tell you plenty. Body language, rotations, who speaks first after the buzzer. Those tiny details write the next headline. So where does it go from here? Does she double down and make the league chase her pace? Or does she flip the script and turn a controversy into a blueprint for leadership? That choice lands soon, and it sets up the final takeaway that ties respect and rivalry can live in the same frame. One wardrobe choice eclipsed a record night and turned a tribute into a debate about intent. Petty or power depends on the angle you choose. What would you have done in that seat? Up next, we break down how a single ranking clip morphed online, and why context is the real battleground.